Hello, everybody. Long time no see. Welcome back to English Pronunciation and Phonetics for Italian Speakers Lesson 5. Today, we're going to continue our journey through the world of British English sounds. We are looking at 3 distinctive sounds which Italian speakers will reduce to the sound A. I'm going to start by showing you these 3 words. A speaker influenced by Italian sounds will pronounce these 3 with exactly the same vowel sound. So they would probably say cat, cat, cat. Or potentially will pronounce the first one with a e sound. So they would probably say cat. But let's start by locating the Italian a sound. If we were to position the Italian a on the chart, we would imagine a relaxed, open mouth. A. A. Therefore, the tongue is relaxed in the middle of an open mouth. We can see the tongue, but it's not pushed forward. It will be central, and the sound will be almost fully open. A. A. Well, the sound a in this position doesn't actually exist in English. None of the words we saw earlier actually contain what we know as Italians as the a sound. In English, these 3 distinctive vowel sounds are pronounced in 3 different mouth positions. A. Cat. A. Cut. A. Cart. Let's analyze them one by one. The a sound. Just look at my mouth whilst I transition between an Italian a and this English a. Pay attention to the mouth openness, the tongue position, and the shape of my lips. The most prominent difference between these 2 sounds is that the English a sees the tongue pushed forward. You could really see the tongue, can't you? The lips are tense. We can sort of smile with an open mouth. Whilst in the Italian a, the tongue is relaxed in the middle. Then we can also see that the a is more open. So we would position this sound here in the chart. It is frontal and right at the very bottom to show that it is an open sound. Spelling. Words which contain this sound tend to be spelled with the letter A, which is helpful. Cat, apple, back, land, fact, happen, man. The sad man sat with the cat's rat. Now, why do we sometimes hear some Italians pronouncing this sound as a e? So they would say apple and epi and men. In American English, this sound is slightly more closed. It moves up a bit in the chart, becoming quite close to an Italian e sound. And our brain tends to recognize and classify sounds based on what it is familiar with. Therefore, it will basically simplify a sound to the closest one in its own mother tongue. For this reason, the sound a, especially in American English, is perceived and reproduced with an e sound. This explains why so many Italian speakers would say bec instead of back, apple instead of apple, epi instead of happy. Terribile, lo so. Now let's move to the second sound, the a sound, the sound of cut. This one is a little tricky because it is very influenced by regional accents, and you may find it in different positions based on the resources that you consult. Sometimes you may find it back here, next to a o sound. Other times it's here, in the middle between a and a o. Others again, you may see it just below a schwa, as if it was a slightly more open schwa. Insomma, ci aiuta a immaginarcelo come una via di mezzo tra una A e una O. Difficile da capire? Let me give you some tips. On the official website of the International Phonetics Association, though, you will find it here. In this same spot, we find another sound we may be familiar with, the O sound, la O aperta di occhi. If two sounds on the chart are positioned in the same spot, what makes them different is the roundness of your lips. So, according to this specific source, the only difference between a O and a is the roundness of the lips. So, keep your tongue back as if you were pronouncing it O and take the roundness away. You shouldn't be moving your tongue. O, O, Now, look at my mouth whilst I transition between an Italian A and this English A. Pay attention to the mouth openness, the tongue position, and the shape of my lips. As you can see, with the sound, the tongue withdraws back. It could also help to trick your brain. Put your mouth in the position of an Italian A, but you think of a O. Cool, right? This forces your tongue to go back if you struggle with the idea of moving your tongue back and forth. Spelling. This sound can have a variety of spellings, and this will play an important role on how our brain perceives this specific sound. So we have the following words spelled with a U letter: cup, hut, much, luck. When it's spelled with a U, our brain tends to perceive it and reduce it to an Italian A. And that's where we go wrong. Often, though, something incredible happens. This same sound, as in up, could also appear in words spelled with an O. This could be really confusing for our brain, as it sees an O and hears an A, and we tend not only to pronounce it with an O, but also we perceive it with an O. Money, love, company, front, cover, London. Yes, all of these words contain the same sound as in up. We would never pronounce the word up, but somehow we would pronounce the word love, love. And it's the same sound. How crazy is that? A couple of words are even spelled with a double O. Blood and flood. Much money to cover up on Monday. Now we get to the last vowel sound. Last. This is a long vowel. Careful, because that always depends on the following sound. If you can't remember the rule, check out video lesson number 4 on vowel length. I shared that some time ago. So the easiest way to imagine this sound is as a very open O sound, O aperta, O apertissima, O, but with unrounded lips. We start with the position of an O aperta. Then we open further and relax the lips. The tongue is back. You can't see it. So look at my mouth whilst I transition between an Italian A and this English A. Pay attention to the mouth openness, the tongue position, and the shape of my lips. On the chart, this vowel sound will appear here. Spelling. This sound is often spelled with a R. Cart, article, heart, start. Often, though, it is represented with simply an A in words such as answer, example, half, fast, last, class, father. The class starts at past. Note that the pronunciation of this specific sound in these specific words is typical of Southern Standard British English and may differ in other regional accents. With a general American accent, in fact, you'd say class, not class. Quick recap. In English, there are 3 sounds which Italians tend to reduce to the central open A sound. In English, the A sound, as we know it, doesn't exist. The A is very open and frontal, and you must see the tongue. A, A. We need to imagine the sound as an unrounded O aperta. The tongue is back. O, O, The A is a very open, unrounded O aperta. O apertissima. Ah, the tongue is still back. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Don't forget we offer online live courses on pronunciation and live events in London and around Italy, where we will learn pronunciation with drama activities. Our next live events will be in Turin and London. Check the brochure in the description. And if you're interested in joining us, email info@onlinelanguagelessons.com. I will see you next lesson where we will look at more English versus Italian vowel sounds.